drinking water at South by Southwest.
I mean, it's the only way to stay alive. I'm on day, what is it, day 8?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that was probably one of my biggest mistakes. This particular festival, I drank very little water.
So that is why I love when I have an Alamo movie at like a festival, because when we're at festivals, usually they're in like the Paramount, like the actual theaters that don't really have in service, let's say. So like when I go to the Alamo, I actually can remember to eat a meal, drink some water. Like it's good.
I came back from the trip exhausted, but also like incredibly dehydrated. Like I could feel like my skin desperate for water.
I legitimately think I'm the best. Like I actually feel better at festivals than like when I wake up for work. Like for example, I get stuck doing work and I forget to like drink water for a few hours. But like here at a festival, the first thing I do is like I wake up, I kind of like move around a little bit. Like I drink a glass of water.
Oh, I'm the exact opposite. And part of the reason why I know I drank so little water is because I have the same Instacart order that I order at the beginning of every single festival, just so I have the essentials and don't have to like, I don't know, like pick up a cup of coffee or something. I just have it in the Airbnb. And I order a 6-pack of like these water bottles, which like I should kill in a couple of days of being at a festival. I think I drank 2 of them.
That's so I'm going to show you what gets me through these festivals. Every single festival, like Fantastic Fest, South by, whatever, I just stock up on these fucking kind breakfast bars, and there's a mountain of them. Literally every day I wake up, I eat one, so I get something in my system. Like
I ate 1 meal a day every single day at South by, and I just supplemented the rest with granola bars.
Yeah, like these are the perfect breakfast. It's what I need for.
The only meals I did eat there were usually like fucking piles of meat. Meanwhile, I got back and I went out with my mom for a steak dinner last night. Apparently, I didn't have enough meat while I was in Austin. I had to have like a 10-ounce steak too.
That's amazing.
And I inhaled it.
Terry Black's was my very first meal I got here when I landed. So I got my Terry Black's barbecue.
Damn, I wanted to go.
Good stuff between in and out. But last night was Tiki, as you know. Tiki drinks last night.
What food did you get at Tiki?
So we got the poo-poo platter. We did everything. The riblets, the Momo chicken wings and stuff. But then we went to the name of the restaurant is Jew Boy Sliders, but we went to Jew Boy after, and like so I didn't really eat a lot at Tiki, but then I went for like sliders after, and like that was the perfect like
that slider was one of the best burgers I've ever eaten in my entire life.
It was fantastic. It's such a good
it was at like 1 o'clock in the morning on an empty stomach with like loads of beer and tequila in my belly. So like maybe that influenced my opinion, but it was a really good burger.
Imagine if you didn't have that slider though, and you tried to and then like that slider sets you right. Like after some drinks.
I'm lucky I had that when I did.
And then tonight you haven't gone there yet, but we're doing another of so Tiki Tatsuya is the Tiki place. Tatsuya is the restaurant family of like the restaurants.
Oh.
So we're doing a Japanese barbecue tapas restaurant tonight. That's connect. So it's Komori Tatsuya, I believe.
Yeah. I think I can picture the storefront.
Yeah, so that's on the docket for me tonight. So that's
nice.
More nice fusion Japanese barbecue coming at me.
Is there a movie tonight?
I got screeners of everything that I was gonna see today, so I'm gonna. Thankfully, I don't have to run out after this anymore and like go do something. Yeah, so I'll be watching Sweetness. I'm gonna give Sweetness a go today.
Oh, I wanted to have time to watch that one. Do you know roughly how many you're going to have watched by the end of all this?
I have my little list right here. By the end, I think I will be at about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, probably about like 25.
Yeah, I think
I will have caught you basically. Like
well, you surpassed me. I think.
Oh, really?
Well, actually, I'm trying to think of how many movies I've basically been counting based on how many interviews that I did. But I've seen a couple that I didn't do interviews for at this point. I think I'm gonna like top out at 23.
Yeah.
Oh, tell Perri Amisa King was great.
He saw Chris saw Amisa King last night, and that's his favorite.
Amziah.
King.
Yeah, Amziah.
Every single time I hear someone pronounce it any other way, I'm like, dear God, let me not have said that wrong in front of the entire group of people. But I also I clarified it with the filmmakers themselves before I even did it because I had to do the interview before seeing the movie.
It was fantastic.
Yeah, so that's the early, or I should say, he's still got a few more movies left too, but that's what he's got his favorite so far.
Wow, I got to see that. I'm so excited. I hope they let us screen it soon.
Does it have distro?
I don't think so.
Yeah.
I mean, I have a feeling if it was one of the biggest crowd pleasers at South by Southwest, that's going to get snatched up really quickly.
Yeah, I mean, like, we can start with our title topic and then go from there if you want.
Yeah. So
South by.
We'll kick it off with a movie that does clearly have distribution, and it comes out very soon, actually. We'll start the show with a review of Death of a Unicorn, which is one of the bigger premieres, I would say, of South by Southwest 2025. It stars Jenna Ortega and Paul Rudd as a father and daughter who are on their way to some secluded retreat type thing run by Paul Rudd's character's boss. And on their way there, they hit a unicorn, and that's where it starts. And then things get crazy.
Chaos ensues.
I think that concept is brilliant. And I think a lot of the themes and ideas that develop as the story expands are really like smart and entertaining and had a lot of promise. But ultimately, it felt very one note to me. I had a very difficult time latching onto any particular character to root for. I don't think any of the performances were bad, so I don't want to blame it on that, but there was just like a lack of depth to all of the characters, particularly the ones that weren't there to like surface level represent a certain type of person, if you know what I mean. And then on top of that, I wrote this in my reaction to the movie. I was just entirely distracted by how the unicorns looked. They looked very, very, very obviously digital. And I don't want to knock VFX in general. I think there could be great visual effects work, but I was distracted by how, to be frank, fake they looked.
It's such a shame because I said this in my review, but like Death of the Unicorn so heavily references Jurassic Park. And if you're going to make
specifically The Lost World.
Specifically The Lost World. But anyway, so the franchise, let's just say it makes a lot of Jurassic Park franchise references. And then the effects that they put forward are so disappointing. Like, if you're going to try to make a lot of references to one of the best practical effects fucking franchises out there, your effects can't, like, you're setting yourself up for failure if you're like making that comparison. And like, I also understand where it's a unicorn. Maybe they wanted it to look a little cartoonish. Maybe that was what they were going for, style and tone wise. But like, it just doesn't work for me. It's flat. Flat is exactly what I felt because there's so much comedy that I wanted to like Will Poulter specifically. They're doing such good like eat the rich stuff, you know, like that whole family, the evil family. It's a pharma company family, so like they're just bastards. But like, I couldn't even laugh at that. I don't know. Like I was struggling with it. Yeah.
Well, it was pretty wild. So when we were in the Paramount Theater where it premiered, me, Matt, Chris, who's in Matt's room right now, and another one of our good friends, we sat the four of us next to each other in the first row of the balcony, so on the second floor, and it felt like the entire theater was hysterical the entire time, and the four of us just like did not make a peep.
It was a silent screening for us, and again, people are liking it too. Like, I was talking to Chase Hutchinson and some other people, like, they're writing positive reviews. They like it. So I think there will be enough of, if you're there for a B movie, if you're there for a silly time, you know, if I watched this on Sci-Fi at like 10 o'clock at night, that's one thing. But the quality just wasn't there. Like, this felt like a first time feature. And again, I can't stress the digital is disappointing. Like, the digital's for the kills. It's not just the uniform. Yeah. So it's like,
well, another thing that happened frequently that usually doesn't bother me, because I do think a lot of films do this really well, because we're always having that argument of whether something should be rated PG-13 or R, and like the case I always make is like, with great performances and proper editing and then some, like you could have a really scary kill that is done in a way that suits the PG-13 rating. In this, what is this rated? This has to be rated R, right? There were a couple of moments then I wonder if it was, you know, like budget concerns, scheduling concerns. It could have been literally anything. There's quite a few moments where they deliberately cut away before the carnage happens. And it's done in a way where like my eye wanted to stay with that, and it didn't enhance the scare at all to have cut away. Instead, it takes away from it. And that's when it becomes a problem.
It feels like a debut feature. And I you know, I'm not saying every debut feature is something that doesn't really live up to potential or stuff, but that specifically, you can really tell like it's someone who doesn't really have a grasp yet on like how to execute there. So I was struggling with that. It's It's also jarring in the beginning too. Like the one practical we get is kind of just like a gag that's played on a little too long, and like
well,
that's
there's
the
one
setup for
towards the
everything.
end too. I like the one towards the end. Did you see? I love how I'm like trying to put my hand
I
into
didn't see
your
Novocaine
screen.
yet. I did not.
Would 110% recommend Novocaine over Death of a Unicorn. I actually like really loved Novocaine. I thought that was a really smart execution of that concept, and that lead performance from Jack Quaid is just pitch perfect, absolutely brilliant. Yeah. So I'm a little disappointed by Death of a Unicorn.
Did you see The Astronaut?
Yes, I did see The Astronaut. Did you see The Astronaut?
I just did yesterday.
Oh, did you? What'd you think about it?
My exact reaction after I saw The Astronaut was, it's so strange. Well, I mean, that's Chris's reaction to it, but I kind of was like, oh, there's 2 movies at South by this year that heavily reference Jurassic Park and are utterly failed by their special effects. Like, I'm gonna be honest, Astronaut's one of my least favorite of the festival.
I wouldn't say it's one of my least favorite. I really do like Kate Mara's performance. I think she is like a stellar anchor for that concept, but I feel like it's trying to do 2 things at once. Like part of it feels like a sci-fi body horror movie to me, and I was really digging that, and I was kind of hoping they'd push that to an 11, but then there were other touches of it that felt like family friendly, Amblin like adventure movie, and I'm like, where did that come from? And I prefer one over the other, and they also don't go together.
For me, it's a complete mishandling of tone, because I agree. Like the problem with The Astronaut for me is it sells you one movie for so long that it lets you get comfortable in that, and you get comfortable in the idea that it's a sci-fi horror movie, and then the entire third act is like tonal whiplash of the worst degree. It doesn't give you any time to catch your bearings. It doesn't give you any time to do anything and like accept what's about to happen. It just slaps you in the face and completely changes the movie. So everything, like, you can do that. I love ambition. I love movies and hybrids that try to, like, you know, for the third act, give me a weird payoff. Great, awesome. But you have to have some kind of, like, you have to ease us into it. You have to bring the audience along for the ride and make us understand why what's happening. And then I will go right back to this. Those aliens look fucking terrible. the digital looks awful. Like, how did that get past any quality control? And it's on a fucking screen. Like,
yeah, I take similar issue. I feel bad. I thought it was in such good shape for a little while, and then all of a sudden it kind of like veered off course.
It's nothing I want to see happen. Trust me. I was in it as the sci-fi horror movie. I was in it for just the like, woman being hunted by some kind of alien, and we just see it from afar, and it's lurking, and you know, it's got that good creep factor to it.
Yeah. There was some good, like, you know, is it there? Is it not there? How far is it? Kind of thing that I appreciated. I assume you didn't see The Dutchman.
I did not get to The Dutchman.
I'll just go from one Kate Mara movie to another one. That one is based on a pretty well-known play, and it stars Kate Mara and Andre Holland. And they're both so good. It's like, it feels like a little bit of a two-hander where it's mainly focused on his character, and he meets her, basically like a privileged white woman on a New York City subway train, and like she fucks with him so hard and is like totally manipulating the situation. And the difference between the play and the film version is that the filmmaker opens it up to more of Andre Holland's character's life in the real world beyond the stuff that takes place on the train. And just seeing that ripple effect, I found it very, very effective. But in particular, it's just like, because we're talking about Kate Mara, she's just like swinging for the fences. Like,
I really like her as an actress, like legitimately. I think she's a really talented
good. I don't think I've ever seen her do something quite like The Dutchman in terms of just like how unhinged and vicious and manipulative and borderline supernatural it was. It's just that performance is probably one of my favorites of the festival.
That was one that was on my list. To just coverage did not let me get to it. But I'll mark it because, again, Kate Mara and Andre Holland.
Yeah, she's good. Did you see Friendship?
No,
she had a trio of movies at the festival this year.
I hear Friendship is fucking hilarious.
Yeah, I went to their party. I did not go to their movie.
Yeah,
I rate their party buffet an A+, though. They had
There you
barbecue.
Death of the Unicorn might not like the movie, but they had literally purple unicorn cocktails. So
that is true. That is
fine with
true.
that.
And a unicorn photo booth.
And the unicorn dust, if you wanted to.
Oh yeah, that too. I like that. After this episode, we'll rank all the parties.
Yeah, there we go.
Ooh, Ash. You liked Ash, didn't you?
I did. Yeah, I
thought it was going to be your vibe. I guess there's a lot of reds.
Like, in love with it. I like Flying Lotus is so creative. I think the stuff he's doing, whether you like it or not, like Kuso, I hated, but still respect the artistic abandon that he brings. It's anything he does is gonna be original. He also did Ozzy's Dungeon in VHS, wild Legends of the Temple, like good shit. But I would say that Ash is a very good riff on Event Horizon, The Faculty, like anything we kind of see. It's Isa Gonzalez just like wakes up on a space station. She's
so good.
All her cast are dead. So she has to basically figure out who killed everyone in space. Did she do it? And then Aaron Paul's character shows up, and like that's the movie, trying to figure that out. And I think it's a little long for what it is. I saw some people say like, should have been a short, and I can't deny some of the idea of like it takes a while to get to the meat of it. But when you finally get to the fucking meat of it, it's real vicious and fierce. And again, Flying Lotus's visuals are on point. So like it's a mix between he talked to Fangoria, Jason at Fango, and he dropped Silent Hill, Resident Evil, Dead Space, all his influences. And like you see them, those influences are there. But then he also has this like hallucinatory idea of like what the cosmos look like. So when characters look outside, it's this really beautiful kind of like amoeba of just swirling dust and shit. It's really cool. But yeah, it's one I would happily watch again. It's just, it's not the next Event Horizon. It's good.
Yeah, no, I'd probably fall in the same camp on that one. I thought Aza's performance was just like phenomenal, because that movie, that concept, I think would cave under the pressure had it not had such a strong anchor. And I think she definitely pulls it all together really well. And even when little bits didn't work for me, I just loved the fact that Flying Lotus's passion for filmmaking and world building always came to the forefront. And I feel like at the very least, if a filmmaker is really interested in and enthusiastic about the world he's building and the story he's telling, at the very least, it will make me interested. I'm not necessarily saying all the points will stick the landing, which they don't in this case, but at the very least, his enthusiasm for the material was quite infectious and kept me very invested from start to finish.
And that's what I want too. That's what I forever want in a movie. Like, there's no chance of getting a movie as like, well, I shouldn't say no chance, but like so many movies these days are just based on other ideas. It's just what you bring to it. It's like the template's going to be there forever, but how do you set your movie apart? And I think Flying Lotus forever is going to be one of those filmmakers that's like, sure, I'll take this riff on something, but it's going to be his no matter what. And I think the other thing too to like point out is he didn't write the script, and I think Flylo, his visuals and his style are so fucking on point. But I saw a little more restraint here because he was working with a more like straightforward script, let's say. So I think that was actually a benefit to him. I think that was very much, him bringing his style to something that's maybe a little more narratively structured. And I like seeing that, but not to say he should never write anything again. It's just, it's Kuso versus Ash. And I think I said, I'm like, this is the most restrained he's ever been, but it's still Flying Lotus. So expect wild shit. Like,
I quite like that. We should clarify. That's Chris Bumbray in the background.
It is bummer. Someone called you Frosty.
Steve.
Oh, no.
We're allowed to know more than one bald person.
Somebody was like, "Is that Frosty walking in the background?"
There's two people. No,
multiple people thought you were Frosty. There you go. Nope. That is our Canadian friend from Joe Blow, who has made his first venture ever to South by in Austin.
Yeah.
You were a Republican, by the way, because you ordered the Republican taco and I ordered the Democrat.
He keeps trying to tell everyone I'm a Republican. He's like trying to get me killed. I did not vote for Trump, goddammit.
Hey, do you want to take a couple super chats before we go to the next one? Mike was here bright and early. Happy Friday, everyone. Hope you're enjoying the early spring weather. Won't be able to watch live, but I'm looking forward to hearing about your highlights from South by Southwest on the replay. As always, Mike, thank you for your support. It's much appreciated. I've also got Vincent here. Hey guys, rest in peace to the great Gene Hackman. Favorite movies.
I'm gonna like all the obvious ones are there.
Yeah. I don't want to say an obvious one.
I think I want to go with this.
The pressure's on.
Well, again, the obvious
filmography is just wild.
I'm gonna go with The Replacements. I just
yeah.
I mean, like Hoosiers 100%, but like The Replacements was always one of those movies that I could like put on just for a laugh and feel everything. God, he's such a good fucking coach in that.
Yeah. I mean, that's a special one.
Yeah.
I want to try to like come up with something out of left field. I mean, like that. I've rewatched what else have I been rewatching a lot? I've rewatched The Birdcage a lot for some reason lately. I don't know why.
Yeah.
But the answer that I'll throw out there to be a curveball right now is, for some reason I used to watch Heartbreakers all the time. You ever see that?
I don't think so. No.
It's a little more recent. I think it was like very, very early 2000s, and it's with Sigourney Weaver and Jennifer Love Hewitt, and they play like a mother-daughter like con duo, and they like do shit like put glass in their food at restaurants and then get the meals comped and shit. But I don't know why. I think that just hit at the perfect age, but I've watched that movie more times than I can count.
Again, I've watched The Replacements more
random.
times than I can count. Like we all have that movie or something like that. Like
Yeah.
again, he's been in so many fucking classics.
Oh my god.
But like, you know, if I'm gonna go with one of my like little personal favorites that maybe people don't talk about as much, fucking Replacements.
Yeah. I don't know. It's hard not to say Hoosiers too. So many. So many. All right, we got one more super, and then we'll go back to our rundown. What do you focus on when you really just don't have a lot to say about a movie? Like if it's just generic, okay, fine, but have to write a full review. This is a good question for you.
These are the hardest reviews to write, in my opinion. Like if it's a 3 out of 5, it's I watched a movie, yay. Like one of those things where you're kind of like, things worked, things didn't work. I just try to focus on the craft, especially because, you know, if something's 3 out of 5, my paragraphs, I'm usually hitting around 600 words. So I'm like, I'm gonna try to do 600 words. It's like 6 paragraphs about, and I got my intro, my quick thoughts, maybe one for cinematography, just like talk about one paragraph on the technical, one talk on performances. Like when you don't have strong opinions, it's just easy to go like more analytical and like critical and just make sure you're hitting all those points. But yeah, it's hard to stretch out sometimes. And like when a movie doesn't have enough ideas to inspire you to write about it, it's just it comes out like, you know, like
it's probably a sign of the quality of the movie.
So I actually really like not taking notes during movies when I'm not at a festival. So like if I'm just going to a regular screening and I know I'm going to write the review right after, it's fun not to take notes and write the review, because it's like, how much do I remember? Like how much do I legitimately remember about this movie and is going to come out in my review? And it's like, obviously the more detailed, the better the movie is. So it's always fun doing that, because like you see how much you really enjoyed a movie based on, well, how much stuck with me after it. But yeah, it's hard, those ones, because negative and positive are super easy. Like I hate this movie, so I'm going to go down all the reasons. I love this movie, I'm going to go down all the reasons.
Yeah, I mean, somewhat the same, but I'll also say if I'm reviewing something and I feel pressured to make my review longer, but I can't find anything to say, usually I'll be like if I'm struggling to find something to say, what I'm going to wind up saying probably isn't worth anyone's time. So I'll just make it a shorter review.
Yeah,
As long as I clearly convey how I feel about a film and justify the points that I make, that is all I care about.
There's no, like, I mean, like I aim for 600, but you're right. Like there's no hard fast rule that says like you have to get to 600 words. And I mean,
yeah,
you know, we see how readers.
I mean, honestly, some sites do have that rule.
Some sites do. You're correct. But like, I don't know. Then that brings up the conversation of readership and what people are actually doing these days, because it's like we're trying to hit 600 words, but what does the average reader actually like want? Like, I love my friends, but my friends will be like, yo, I just click into your reviews and I go to the bottom. I scroll the bottom. I just read the final paragraph. So like,
absolutely not.
That's how the general consumer is taking in this information now. And we have transitioned out of film criticism being like, oh, I love reading film criticism. I love the whole 600 words and the flow of the words, to like, oh, is there a 5-second video I can watch somewhere? Like that's, my friends bring up, who are your favorite critics now to me? And I'll be like, oh, like I'll name all y'all and like the writers I love. And they'll be like, oh, I don't know any of those. I just know the YouTube ones. And I'm like, yeah.
No. Okay. Can I give you a shout out to refute your point that you just made? So one of my favorite movies at the festival and one of my favorite conversations of the festival, Redux Redux. After we did the interview at the Collider Media Studio, I was just like casually talking to the filmmakers. I don't even remember why we got on this point, but basically critics that we love. And I think we both brought you up at the same time. And like, I thought maybe they had just seen your positive review of their movie and dug it. And then they go to me, yeah, we were so happy that he was happy with our Reds. And I'm like, you know him.
Yeah. They did they found me because I did positively review Block Island Sound.
Yeah. Now it makes sense to me.
But like they have since the McManus brothers have been very nice and like they've been, they've reached out on Redux Redux because they said they're like, hey, like we hope this one works for you, but like you liked our last one. And luckily, like if we want to keep talking about South by, Redux Redux is
it works exceptionally well.
I think it is as of now. I have some movies left still. I'm not done, but I think Redux Redux is my favorite movie I've seen here so far.
I think I might be in the same boat, but I've got a couple that are like real. I think I have two fighting for the top spot, and then maybe like two more that are just so close. But Redux Redux is probably my favorite of the festival.
As of now, I'm looking at. I have my little. I wish I could share my screen and show you my Excel, but like I have everything like mapped out for me. I got 3 right now that are kind of vying for the top, and it's Redux Redux. I do genuinely think that is my number 1, but the other 2 in there, I really liked We Are Store. Michael Bay directed documentary about a park.
I want to see that.
It's wild. It's like you get the camera put right on the parkour dudes. They are doing insane stuff. They're not just like, jumping off a bench or something like that. The very first scene is them like scaling a skyscraper in Hong Kong, and they're literally just like climbing up one by one, and you are looking down with them. Like I don't like heights in that way. I can fly fine. I can do things in contained spaces, but like the free fall aspect of this movie, kind of vertigo a little bit. But anyway, it's so exciting. Like it's what they show you is really cool. Also, just the guys themselves, they found a really neat group. On because Bay finds the through line. It's not just about like, oh, watch what these idiots do and blah blah blah. It's actually he finds a way to be like, these were a bunch of kids who just wanted to do what they loved and make money off of it. And it's that conversation of like being driven, being passionate, like believing in yourself and like betting on yourself. And now they have 10 million followers just for jumping off shit. Like,
It's wild. Yeah. Steve did that one and I listened to his interview and it definitely upped my interest big time in seeing the film.
And then my third one, did you see Lifehack?
I didn't.
Lifehack's good. Lifehack is, do you know what it is?
I don't think so.
So Lifehack is a Screen Life heist movie.
Ooh. I do know what this is.
Yeah. And so like it's based on these like 4, hackers, whatever you want to call them, but like kids. They're like teenagers. And this movie is so aggressively making fun of Elon Musk, Joe Rogan, and Trump. Like I'm gonna spoil one of the jokes because it's so fucking good and fearless. The guy Don is like this guy named Don is this alpha male asshole. Think Andrew Tate, think Elon Musk. And this movie was made, it's showing South by. So literally it was made a few years ago. And they have this one scene where the asshole that they were going to steal the crypto from, because he's a huge crypto bro and business bro, is he's like shooting a flamethrower, like with a crazy like passion and all this stuff. And it looks beat for beat, just like Elon was doing the chainsaw the other day, like literally 2 weeks ago. So like they predicted that shit, just like making a movie, making fun of him. There's a point where they're going through Don's emails and you see the screen share and literally there's an email from Jay Epstein saying, "Hey bud, how's it going?" Like this Irish kid who's like 27 is coming for fucking throats.
Oh boy. I gotta see this.
But it is also a great application of Screen Life. Like
we
love Unfriended, we love The Den, we love that kind of stuff. So he found a way to make, I mean, it's a heist movie, so you have to kind of like leave the room, let's say. Like it can't just be someone sitting on a computer the whole time. And he finds ways to do it. Like it's a really tight application of it. So I'm very impressed by this filmmaker. Fuck yeah.
First feature?
Yeah, feature debut.
Very cool.
And
I didn't see that.
He worked with Timmer and stuff. So like
Screen
Life God is like one of the producers on it. So a lot of good stuff there.
I love how Timur is using, his little Screen Life realm to lift people up because he's definitely helped a lot of people out there get first features off the ground. That's pretty damn cool.
And it's like it's one of those first features that like it's good. This kid's gonna blow up. Like the craft is just meticulous. The technical application is fantastic. Like keep an eye out for Lifehack.
Making myself a little note.
Yeah,
I could still catch that at some point. I would like to. Wait, so we talked about your other favorites, and we never really went into detail on Redux.
Oh, yeah, Redux. Sorry.
Do you want to do the synopsis, or do you want me to?
Yeah, I mean, like I'll keep the synopsis brief, and only say what was revealed here. Yeah. But it is a mother seeking revenge on the man who killed her daughter over and over again using a time machine. So she we'll keep it vague and we'll just like keep it there. But Jeremy Holm plays a serial killer, and this mother has basically found this machine that she can use to bring her to other dimensions where
it's multiverse travel.
It's multiverse travel, yeah. So that's what it is. But like she gets to relive the catharsis of killing this guy over and over and over again. But that is not it. Like that is not the whole movie. There's so much more to it. And I love how this movie, talking about movies that kind of like blend genres and can do different things, the way that Redux pivots, I think is really well done.
Very smart.
It manages the tone well. It pivots into like almost like a road trippy kind of comedy at times. And yeah.
I love when I screen a movie, especially early on in the South by Southwest prep process, and I could say to myself, oh God, I know this is going to wind up being one of my favorites of the festival. And that's exactly what I had watching this. I love, love, love their multiverse concept. I found it so refreshing. Like I had enough of a foundation from my understanding of multiverses to like stand on, but they add really like smart new touches, but they also never let the characters get like consumed by multiverse lore or heavy like details that you have to follow. They have a high concept, but they make sure that it always feels like character first, and the narrative is driven by the character and less by the technology, if that makes much sense. But I thought Michaela McManus was like, what a powerhouse. The second she appears on screen in that movie, I'm like, who are you? I am so taken by you. And then the thing is, I'm so taken by her that I'm sitting there like, oh, like it's gonna be a one-person show kind of thing. Like she's just gonna fly through this movie. I'm gonna love her every single step of the way. Then that winds up being not the case. And I'm sitting there, I'm like, how can anybody like match her energy and intensity? How can they get on her level? And then they introduce someone who's a bit of a newcomer, Stella Marcus. And oh boy, that pairing, just absolute perfection. They both hold their own. They have excellent chemistry with one another. I couldn't get enough of them.
Yeah, I called Stella. Like, obviously, I called both of them out as doing a tremendous job. But I think Stella Marcus, talking about how the tone pivots and how that movie changes, I think with a lesser performance there, it doesn't work as well. And Stella Marcus, for this being her feature, like full feature debut, like she's been doing some other stuff, but this is her first movie.
Yeah,
she crushes. Somebody I was talking to kind of compared Redux to Logan in an interesting way, and called Stella Marcus like the Daphne Keene. And I was like, you know what? Like I kind of see it now that was brought up.
I can see that.
No, there was so much that this movie deals with the idea of being consumed by grief, and obviously a mother wanting to like over and over murder the man who ruined her life, but also like that cycle. Like the time loop is such an interesting mechanic, let's say, to use like as a plot device, because it's allowed to like, are you really getting catharsis? Like, is this really helping living this reality, let's call it, like over and over again? So I think it gives a lot of good thrills. It brings you in. It feels like Safety Not Guaranteed and Primer in a way that it deals with a lo-fi like science fiction story, because it goes back to what you were saying. The application of time travel here and multi-dimensional, multiversal stuff, it's there. There's a little universe going on, but it doesn't have to be overblown. Like they very smartly keep the details to a minimum so that everything else runs. It's like
it's not overblown, but it's It's a very interesting situation they set up. Like if you're a detail nerd like I am and you love like backstory and building lore and all that stuff, there is a very I don't want to underplay how good that situation is and how creative it is, but I feel like it is conveyed in a way that I don't know, not that it feels like no big deal, but it it just feels very natural and grounded in, like, the cinematic world that they create, if that makes much sense, and it kind of made me feel like, "Oh, like, no big deal, I'm going along for the ride," and it's her mission that's driving me more than anything, and I like that touch. I like that, like, tactile feel to it.
Yeah, and again, there's no more diving into anything further because I do love where the movie goes. It's just that's to be discovered. Like that's the
Yeah.
fun of it. But yeah.
So, that's a pretty big I'm, like, a little afraid to commit yet, but, like, I'm pretty sure that's gonna be my number 1. If that winds up being my number 1, the one that's, like, I mean, so close behind, if not right there even with it, is The Surrender. I can't stop thinking about that movie. You didn't see it, right?
Yeah, that's one of the
You
screams.
gotta chase that one. I thought that one was so good. It's about mother and a daughter who, butt heads a little bit, how they handle what happens when the patriarch of their family passes away, and they both have like completely different ideas of what they should do next. And what winds up happening is they get involved in, this is in the synopsis, so I'm not spoiling anything, but they get involved in a bit of like a resurrection type spell. And it's so smart. Again, it's a really, really strong horror concept, but it's one that always puts the characters as individuals and their relationship with one another at the forefront, which is what gives that curious concept all of its weight. So I thought that was a really, really, and that one is a two-hander. It's Colby Minifie from The Boys and also Kate Burton, and the two of them were just like impeccable together. I was there with them in the moment. I could feel the weight of their history as mother and daughter, and there's like a push-pull there, but like she's also her daughter and she's also her mother, and like they love each other, and like there were just so many conflicting feelings that would keep me on my toes, and it all felt so authentic. And it's just it's also one of those horror concepts that I love in terms of how it makes you wonder what might you do in that kind of situation. And while bad decisions are made, I think the movie actually justifies them all, and I think that makes it even more disturbing.
It sounds almost like not one for one, but a little like Relic-y, like with the mother.
Kind of. Yeah, not really.
Yeah, okay.
I think maybe in scale, if anything, but story very different.
Got it. Yeah, no, I love hearing Colby being in things because like I covering The Boys.
So good. So
right,
good.
Like, covering The Boys for IGN, I'm always like writing little notes here and there in my like episode recaps. Like, yeah, Colby once again like steals the scene, steals the episode with like one outburst or whatever it is. I think she's great. Yeah,
I think this movie better get her more lead roles in feature films, because there is absolutely no doubt, not that I didn't think this before seeing The Surrender, but this makes it undeniable that she can and is very worthy of headlining feature films, and I'd like to see more of that.
Yeah, I mean, I'll call out Descendant because I got around Descendant the other day. It's a good movie. Like it didn't blow me away like 5 out of 5, but like it's a solid 3.5 for me. I like that people are still holding on to like trauma horror quotes, like that whole movement. Like, you have your thoughts about it, but when I see a movie like Descendant that is willing to take these ideas of depression, grief, what we hold inside and how we kind of handle our mental health and what that is, and then when I find an application of it that feels new and fresh. Yeah. So I really like what Descendant is playing with. And again, I don't want to say too much, but like
it's a hard one to talk about what makes it special without teetering over into spoiler territory.
So like, I mean, it's a science fiction movie. There is a husband and wife dealing with their incoming child. She's pregnant, and what we see is how the father changes. And I think that's also an interesting perspective too, because a lot of the times it's the mother, it's the pregnant woman who undergoes that kind of whatever we want to call it, that change. But I like seeing it from the perspective of the father, because it's like that can happen too sometimes.
Obviously, it is interesting. It's interesting seeing it side by side. They definitely don't overlook what she's going through, which I appreciate. Sarah Bolger had one of my favorite scenes of the whole festival. I'm not going to explain the details, obviously, but it's like in the last third of the film. And that was one of those performance beats that, you know, kind of left me speechless and left me like a little rattled. And I appreciated that. But I dug this one quite a bit. It's, I'm like so careful with my words. I was pretty nervous doing the interview for this one because I didn't know how much was okay to reveal, but I like me a deeply internal psychological sci-fi mystery, and that's what this felt like. And as I watched it, I would feel myself leaning in closer and closer to the screen, like trying to piece things together and, you know, to like connect the dots. And I mean, I think the fact that it's got 2 just like A++ lead performances that make the internal so external is why the concept works especially well. I was very into that one.
Yeah, like Ross Marquand, like also want to call out, like Ross is doing a great job in this. He's going through some shit in his character, and the way that, like, I'm sorry, we keep dancing
in this movie, right. He's stressed, and it's stressed me out.
Like, he's stuck in that mode, and I think that can sometimes take down an actor where there's not a lot of variety. Let's say, like, this is just someone who has that face on the whole time, and they're going through it, and he does it well. Like, it's a good representation of, you know, how a quote one note performance doesn't have to be one note at all. Like, there's so much depth to that and what he's going through. But again, we apologize for being very vague, but this is the South by movie that is going to come out, like, you know, it'll probably come out months from now, and, you know, we don't want to give away what's there.
Don't spoil that one for yourself. We might as well get the third Shudder movie while we're in that zone. Clown in a Cornfield. I had so much fun with this movie. So
I did.
Just so people know where I'm coming at it from, I heard that there might be a chance that I would get to do an interview for it soon after Sundance. So I immediately went home and I bought the audiobook and I listened to the book. So I am technically a book reader, listener, whatever. Don't give me shit for it. Listen to the book before I saw the movie. So I knew the story. And one of my favorite things about this adaptation is the movie plays a little more horror comedy. It leans into that vibe, whereas the book doesn't feel quite the same way. And also, as with all adaptations, certain set pieces stay, you know, quite similar. Other ones are evolved for the different medium. And I think in this case, both work. So I think it's a really cool thing that you have the book, you have the movie. The movie respects the book, but you can watch and listen to one in either order. It doesn't even matter. And you're basically experiencing the same story in refreshing ways. And the fact that both can exist, I think, is a very, very cool thing, and why I love film adaptations.
Yeah, I came at this without having read or listened to Adam Caesar's book. So this was my first time with Friendo, Clown in a Cornfield, first interpretation of it. And I like it as a teen slasher specifically, because I was talking to somebody about this, and like, Shudder does such a good job of hitting all areas of horror.
Yeah.
Like, everything they acquire, everything they make is playing in another subgenre. It's everywhere. But I think the one thing they don't really have a lot of is that gateway horror.
Yeah.
That, like, real, you know, this is going to be some kid's first gory horror film, and that's fucking rad. Like, this it's a good introduction into horror for the younger generation and the themes that it's playing with, but it still is a good slasher at the same time. It hits both of those notes. So I think there's some kills in there that are gruesome. There's some good comedy. Again, there are themes in there that will appeal more to younger horror fans. Like, you know, like, it's a great sleepover movie. Like, it's going to be a really cool discovery for a lot.
It is. I like the thought of someone being first exposed to this genre through this movie, but I also do think it's going to scratch a lot of slasher movie itches for hardcore fans. I do think it ticks both boxes quite nicely. Look, Katie Douglas was a phenomenal anchor, and I believe this is also her feature debut as an actor in a lead role. And I mean, it's not it's not an easy thing to anchor. There's a lot going on, and especially given the genre mashup vibe, it can be very, or at least as an outsider, I suspect it can be very difficult to kind of like toe that line and play with everybody, no matter where they fall in that respect. And I don't know, I thought she just did that really well. It's also a movie that ramps up really quickly, so you don't really have all that much time to build connection between the characters. And I think she does a really good job having that chemistry with everyone around her. So like, I actually care, like, because she's new in town at the beginning of the movie. So that's a challenging place to be. And I thought she did a really good job with her, her ensemble, just making that feel right and making me care.
Yeah, it's familiar in times. It's this, you know, the simple story of new.
I think that's to its benefit, though.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Like, it's familiar.
No,
you're good. You're totally good. Yeah, like that's the thing. It's new girl in town. Mother's just passed away. Dad's doing his best. Dad's the new doctor in town. There's like a really cool there's a Stephen King vibe about the town itself. You know it's unsettling, and you know something's wrong immediately. Like you said, it ramps up quick. You know something is askew from the minute you get there. There's no wasting time here. So you're indoctrinated into the cult of friendo very quickly, and it is starting off like with a nice cold open with 2 brutal kills. Like that's how you want to get started with these things. So yep. I was very impressed by that. And you know, if you haven't read the books or stuff, I won't say where it goes, but I was not expecting where it went, as not having not read the books. It was very nice to have like a little twist that goes, oh fuck, okay,
more friendo.
Yeah, like I think there's franchise potential here.
Oh no, sure. Without a doubt. I haven't read the next book yet, so I don't specifically know where it goes, but based on how I felt at the end of the book and now also the end of the movie, I think it has a very promising future and a whole lot of franchise potential.
Someone did tell me where it goes, and like we have no idea if there's going to be another movie, if even. So this is just speculation. But like, if it follows the next book, apparently the town gets overrun with like influencers.
Don't spoil shit.
Right, that's fun.
I don't know.
Spoiling any? Like, what do you?
I don't know.
I'm just saying it will be an influencer based horror movie if it does. Let's say.
Okay. That's it. I tried to read nothing about the next book until I jumped into it, but that sounds really
influencer based horror if it goes that way, which I would have a lot of fun with if Eli Craig comes back to direct it.
Yeah,
having directed Tucker and Dale.
I will say, I do think the success of this movie, like I'm sure there's other directors who could have done a good job, but this feels very uniquely him, and I like his version of this story. So I would, if it continues, like to see him stick with this franchise. And I can't imagine they would do anything else, but I do think he knocked this adaptation out of the park.
Yeah. Yeah. So positive on that one. I liked it.
All right. I'm looking at the rest of my list. Very random. I love Fantasy Life, the Matthew Scheer movie with Amanda Peet. So because I was bringing up the Descendant scene that I love so much, another one of my favorite scenes, specifically because of the performance at South by Southwest, is a scene she has towards the end of that movie. Again, I don't want to reveal all the details, but you know, it's basically a scene that needs to reflect the weight and kind of encapsulate everything that the movie had been discussing all along. And it's such like a deeply emotional beat that I don't think I'll ever get out of my head. But basically, and it's his, some of you might have watched The Alienist. He was in that, but this is his feature writing and directing debut, and like a total natural, totally gets the story he's telling and how to best bring it to life on screen. But he plays a guy in his 30s who loses his job and winds up nannying for his therapist's grandchildren. And one of their parents is Amanda Peet's character, like a formerly famous actress who's kind of stalled in her career. And he agrees to go away with them to Martha's Vineyard. And while there, like, he starts to have feelings for her. And it's basically like an awkward family dramedy. But I don't know, the way that it tackles mental health in particular felt like, like really authentic and refreshing. And the two of them have so much chemistry together. Like, I understand at moments when like you're like, don't do that, but I'm like, do that. You guys are kind of nice. I like you.
No, that's good. I'm like looking back my list now, trying to see little things. I do want to get out there because this is coming out very soon. So like this is Prime Video. I was not happy with Holland.
Oh,
I was very upset with Holland. It is bad. It's one of those movies that I walked out of there going, how did this? Ooh, what? Yeah. And Mimi Cave is great. Like Fresh is fantastic. Yeah. Like there's so much talent in front of the camera. There's so much talent behind the camera. And for those who don't know what Holland is, it's basically this like a married woman thinks her husband is cheating. So it becomes this Fargo-esque investigation in Holland, Missouri, I think. Well, one of those kind of Midwestern states, but so it's an American town that's obsessed with Dutch culture, and that's supposed to make it interesting. So you have Nicole Kidman's character spying on her husband and using means to try to catch him cheating, but then I don't know, it's basically the way I described it is Holland hopes that you've never seen Fargo, you've never seen any of the movies that inspired Fargo, you've never seen any of the movies that came after Fargo that tried to rip it off, and you've just never seen a crime caper before.
No.
Dead air. Talking about Death of a Unicorn, that reaction, like we sat there and didn't have any reaction. Holland was worse. It was literally just a quiet theater.
Oh boy. Oh, that's the worst feeling at a film festival.
That was a huge bummer. Like that one hurt. That was one of those.
Glad I missed that one. Did you ever see Mermaid?
Nope, I had the screener.
I feel like you would like that one. I'll table that until you watch it and we can discuss. But it does feel like a you kind of movie.
I like Drop. I mean, like
I like Drop.
Yeah, we can talk about Drop because that's
we can talk about Drop.
April 11th.
April-ish.
Yeah, April 11th, I think.
I like Drop a lot.
Yeah.
Nobody needs the 101 on that one. They've released trailers and stuff, but it's got a different vibe from Christopher Landon's past movies, and I think the vibe still works really well. To give more specifics, it's like less horror comedy. Because of
next. Sorry.
I didn't see that one, just you did. But because of the concept, it does seem like a really difficult story to bring to screen visually in a way that is both believable and sparks tension. And I think Megan Feig was the perfect lead for that. Again, it's like another situation where the success of the movie really hinges on that lead performance being believable, and she definitely hooks you right from the start and has you rooting for her every single step of the way. But then also with a phone-based thriller, like you got to make sure that camera work and editing is spot on, as well as certain visual effects, and they really got how to do it. And I also thought the production design of that restaurant was just wildly impressive. The whole thing felt so like real and fully operational. I just kept catching my eye looking at every single layer of a frame, and there was always something doing, and more often than not, it was important. And I was just very impressed by that.
So referencing the production design specifically, you might know this, but Meg Navarro at Bloody Disgusting got to interview Chris Landon, and he said that they built that was entirely built from scratch. Like the restaurant you see in the movie, that is the setting where all the tension takes place and the craziness takes place, was like just a soundstage built from the ground up just for this movie. And that is the kind of attention to detail that I fucking love. And apparently all the food too. They had a chef in house. So like the chef in house was like serving real food the whole time. But no, I got good grand piano vibes. I love grand piano. One of those really weird thrillers where somebody is stuck in a scenario they can't get out of, and someone could die if they don't. So all that kind of stuff. Good Hitchcock. Like Landon says outright, just hey, I'm doing something Hitchcocky in here. You can call it that. That's fine. And I think it is a really good way to do it. Man, like it was way tenser than I thought. I was kind of nervous about how that could play out for the whole time. Like a woman on her first date, how are we going to keep her there and keep that tension ratchet?
Yeah.
Holy shit. Like there are times where it's talking about leaning towards the screen. Like literally I was like, oh shit, like I'm really into this.
There's a lot of curious twists and turns. And I feel like sometimes with a concept like that, you can run the risk of them feeling like too extreme and ridiculous. But I don't know. Like a lot of this felt, not that I've ever done these types of things, but a lot of it felt very realistic to me.
It felt organic. It really did feel organic, all of it. It really especially felt organic in the sense of the first date anxiousness.
Yeah.
And they did a good job establishing why she is anxious as a dater. Again, that
opening scene is like jolts you.
It gives you a reason to believe also why the man on the date would stay there. Because listen, like I've been on some shitty dates before.
Well,
and you know when to hit the eject button. Like you know when it's time. So
Megan Feig would take a lot to get me to leave.
Bumray would not leave Megan Feig. So
I knew that comment was coming.
But no, like legitimately, it gives you, because there are sometimes we were looking at the screen going, why the fuck is this guy still here? Like what are we doing? Why are you staying? But
he handles that really well.
It's around that. I think Landon definitely gives you at least enough of a belief of, oh, okay, like he really is just this committed to her. Like he's trying to make her feel comfortable. Like he wants her to feel like she's safe back again dating.
Yeah.
So yeah. Good job of thinking of the entire concept, not just thriller in a restaurant. Like
Chris
you
Landon
lost that.
Goes 2 for 2 in 2025, and I like it.
God, yeah, that's right.
All right. You want to do a simple
that's right,
for 2, and I'll do one more, maybe?
Yeah, that's fine. We got time.
Okay.
I don't have to go to my screen anymore, so there's.
I have an interview though.
That's fine then. A simple favor. The way I described it when I walked out. So I had not seen A Simple Favor until the night before. I hadn't seen it before, so I watched that first. Really enjoyed it. Really did like it. I get the hype for it. Another Simple Favor to me feels the Glass Onion effect, where it goes bigger, more exotic. It draws you in by like the grandeur of it, but it's slighter. It doesn't the zippiness isn't there. It doesn't feel like the same comedic balance. It tries to do too much, where I really think A Simple Favor me works because it is more grounded and there's more intensity to the thrill. It's a little more horrifying. Like I don't want to use the word horrifying, but it's not a horror movie, but it's a little more horrifying what's happening. Where another Simple Favor kind of feels like it's being a little too silly and slapsticky, and we've gone into more comedy realms. And I lost that real thrill. I lost that real, like, the hunt and the chase of it, where it's still entertaining. We're talking about Blake Lively and Anna Kendrick once again crushing it. Like they're why we're watching. They're why we want them to come back. And that banter is still good. The fucking brother fucker stuffer, like all that stuff is still there. They find new ways. It's not the same jokes repeated. They create new jokes in this one that will once again be quoted tremendously. But yeah, it just feels like a little less. It feels like, you know, it's unfortunate because Paul Feig opened with an intro and he's like, it took me so long to make my first sequel because I never think sequels are as good as the original, but I had to revisit these characters. And I believe both of those. I do believe we did need to revisit these characters. They deserved it, and it shows on the screen. But again, he doesn't escape the allegations of sequels mostly not being as good as the original. So still good, still fine. Entertaining time at the movie, but.
Okay, I'll take that. I want good things for Paul Feig.
Yeah.
I guess the next one I'll choose there, and I'll say there's a bunch that I'm not naming now that I really liked. Wait, before I even name this one, you saw Hallow Road too, right?
I did. Yeah.
Quite like that one.
Yeah, I'm middle ground on it.
Oh.
It's one of those experiments that is going to work really well for some people, and it's going to miss other people because it's an experiment in showing nothing, and you know what's behind the door is always scarier than if you open the door and see it. And again, I think that works tremendously for enough of the time, but even at 80 minutes and where the film ends.
Oh, I love where the film ends.
I get it. I get that you're able to sustain. You proved you can sustain tension, and that's awesome. But for my specific tastes, I think I needed something. I needed something at the end, just a glimpse of something. So I can't say shit. I can't say anything else because like,
I did not need that glimpse. It was one of those times where not getting like a literal glimpse made it more chilling. And I just like the whole movie takes place in a car, and it was one of those movies where they use the volume to film it. And I think it's just a brilliant example because like I think a lot of people out there assume the volume is a technology limited to big franchises, like for example Star Wars and Marvel and all that stuff.
Right.
But it's not. It can actually be a really smart way to make an ambitious movie, like a fully set in a car movie happen. And I thought they used it really well. The movie
future, all of the volume.
Which one?
Molly and Max in the Future.
Oh yeah. Well, I had just covered another Daddy-O, the Johnson movie. I covered a TIFF a while back. That whole thing was shot on the volume, and I thought it was just again very smart use of that technology.
And again, another movie that didn't really work for me because of the experiment.
I'm not saying the story didn't work.
Oh no, yeah.
I'm not saying the story worked. parts of that story worked for me. That one didn't quite stick the landing, but as far as like the visuals and the use of the volume, I thought that is what was good. But the story of Hello Road works really well for me. Just try to differentiate that. The other one that I really wanted to highlight was American Sweatshop.
Oh yeah,
the Lily Reinhart movie. You didn't see that one, right?
No, I didn't.
Christy saw it, and I don't want to speak for her, but I think she really liked it. I thought that movie was exceptionally well done, and I thought it is a very timely and a much needed peek behind the curtain of how what we look at on our computers and phones could be impacting us. Lily Reinhart plays a character who works in this facility where basically people are just like chained to their desks and not literally, but you know what I mean, and forced to watch all of the content that users deem harmful on places like the internet and social media. And she basically sits there, watches this stuff, and has to click approve if it's safe to be watched or not approved. And as we all well know, with big corporations, there's like very bizarre rules with what is okay and what's not. And like one of the big inciting incidents of the movie is she sees a video that essentially like changes everything for her, like a thing she can't unsee and feels the need to act on. And I think the immediate of the movie, like her particular journey and story, and also the stories somewhat of the characters around her, is very powerful, but also it's one of those stories that has a ripple effect into your everyday life when you are just scrolling and you have no control over what you see. And what you see at any moment can change everything for you. That's what the movie's addressing, and I think it does so very well.
I love that concept. I really do love that concept.
So good.
We just, like you said, we just push through TikTok or push through Instagram and Reels, and we're not actually like thinking about the consequences. Yeah, that's.
It's good.
Thinking about some of like the shit I've seen, just like scrolling. Yeah.
Yeah. She's another one that's 2 for 2 this year with me because she was also in Hal and Harper at Sundance. And like, not only did she make something that I like at both festivals, she made things that wound up being some of my favorite things I saw overall at those festivals. And it's really exciting seeing the choices she's making right now.
I'm going to call out very quickly before we are done with this.
Yes.
Good Boy's Good. Good Boy Good.
Oh yeah, I gotta watch that.
Yeah, Good Boy, the doggy horror movie. It was so impressive to when you watch it, you'll know, but it is an untrained dog. So this is just a family dog who is starring in it, and you see a haunting through his perspective, and finding out that it took them 3 years to film it, and they just basically whenever they could, they just shot because oh shit, like this is a good scene or whatever. The dog was ready, the dog was good, but you can really see the way that they were the owners are the filmmakers as well. Yeah. And they were on screen, whatever you want to say, but like they were there with him the whole time. And that attention that he is giving them is so genuine and so good. Like the emotionality of the dog is organic because he's looking at his masters and owners, and like that's who he's reacting to. So you get such like a nuanced performance from a fucking feature debut dog. It's great. It's a little creepy. It's funny. It's good. Like, yeah, Good Boy. Look out for that one when it's ready.
Good Boy Good. That's the pull quote.
Good Boy Good.
2 quick super chats. Hey friends, said I couldn't make it to South by Southwest. Gotta know, any good soundtracks this year?
Hold on. Let me go back. I actually think, hold on.
It's not a soundtrack, but I saw the Her documentary, The Makings of Curtis Mayfield, and one of the coolest things about the way that documentary is structured is it does give you like a little bit of 101 on Curtis Mayfield, like a traditional documentary structure, but it's so much more about experiencing his music and also experiencing how it's changed the lives of the people that she's talking to and also herself. And I don't know, I think that made the music in the movie an especially, I don't know, like fulfilling experience maybe, or at least more so than I thought it would when I heard she's making a music documentary.
I think I do want to call out We Are Store. Lauren Balfe does composes the score to it, and it really goes along with the intensity of the film. It's a great little score. I do want to call out The Surfer too. I don't have exactly who did that score, but there's a nice hazy insanity about it. And I think it really doing the orchestral score in The Surfer with that like 60s kind of beach vibe, I think it really works. The movie did not work for me as well, but the score there does stand out.
Good one. We also have, did either of you get to see Satisfaction at South by Southwest? Randomly discovered one of my high school classmates is in it, which naturally piqued my interest. Yeah, I haven't seen that one either.
Yeah, somebody was talking about it last night.
I've heard a couple people talk about it, which makes me think hopefully it's good. I don't know. I kind of want to see that. Also because I screenshotted these like, God, weeks ago, I think. And it was 2 super chats from January 17th that we never got to, but clearly I saved them and still haven't brought them up. I'm just going to read them because they're both like just nice comments. One was from Haunted Autumn. One last super chat just to say that I love and admire you both so very much. Thank you both for all you do and everything you have given so many of us. And then Brett WB jumped in right after and said what Haunted Autumn said at times too. This hour has been a big comfort for me the past half year. Thank you. Thank you guys. A very belated thank you for those super chats.
Yeah.
All right. Plug time. Plug where everybody can find your wonderful South by reviews.
What do I got? I've got 14 reviews logged already. Got more coming. So lots of South by reviews. At Donatobomb on Twitter. So don't say it. At Donatobomb on Blue Sky, Instagram, and Letterboxd. You can also follow my podcast, Decertified Forgotten. We got them. We did it.
I love how they've been sitting on my desktop for
just
so
literally
long.
Staring at you.
I was so diligent about saving them and then just never read them for some reason.
You're fine on that. But yes, also please go follow my podcast, Certified Forgotten. We talk about horror movies with 10 or less critic reviews on Rotten Tomatoes, and we try to show you some of the cool little movies out there that fell through the cracks. So Certified Forgotten, the podcast. Go follow us. We got a website with some writing on it that you can follow too. And yeah, at Donatobomb, I just am always writing. I will always have something posting every day. So follow me and I don't know, make it worth it.
Yeah, do all that stuff. I'll tease on the Collider Interviews YouTube channel is where you're going to be able to find all of my South by Southwest interviews. I mean, pretty much every movie that I just spoke about that I said I liked, I did an interview for. So they're conversations that I'm really happy I got to do and proud of. So go check those out over there. And as far as Ladies Night goes, the last one we ran, I believe, was the Tatiana Maslany one. And she's just the freaking coolest. And then we're posting a new one tomorrow. And that one is with one of my all-time favorites, Samara Weaving. I've been trying to get her on the show for did you watch Borderline?
No, I've been at South by.
I mean, I guess I can say this now. Borderline is really good. It's available. It's available today in theaters and on digital. And it's just like, it's so sharp. It's so much fun to watch. As always, she is a great like focus for any kind of horror movie, maybe horror comedy leaning. And man, Ray Nicholson is just like living his best life, going to the extreme in horror movies right now. Could not get enough of it. I highly recommend that. With that, we are out of here. We will be back next week with a new Merri Hour in the same location.
Hell yeah.
I love how I say that like we haven't seen each other in a bit.
Literally for
like I saw you the other day. All right.
We'll be in the same location again though, because technically we're not right now.
Until then, have a wonderful weekend, everyone. See you soon.
Goodbye.